Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call our meeting to order. This is the April 5th, 2021, 9 a.m. meeting of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. I call us to order. I would ask that you join us in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as we do at the start of all of our meetings, we ask that you join us in a moment of silence as we think about, remember, and pray for all of our first responders here in Flagler County that keep us safe and run into danger while others won't do that. And they do it willingly, and because they're so committed to serving us here in Flagler County. We also think about our other first responders, our brave men and women in our fire departments and our EMS services, and all the other law enforcement officers here in Flagler County for the other municipalities. We also want to remember all those that serve us in the United States military, both here and abroad, and keep us safe every day. So, and also we want to think about and remember the victims of this terrible pandemic that we've had here in Flagler County, and we pray for an end to that. If you would just join us. Okay, thank you. We look forward to a good, productive meeting today. We have a couple of additions and deletions to our agenda of note. One deletion we have is item 7F, which needs to get removed from our agenda, and that's at the request of, I believe, Tailwinds Incorporated. So that's the only addition or deletion, so I would ask for a motion, Commissioner, so we can get that taken care of on the agenda.
Mr. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of deletion of 7F from the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, our revised agenda is now adopted. A couple of announcements. First off, the reminder that the Flagler County Fair Youth, I guess it's the livestock show and sale, will be this April 7th through the 9th at the Flagler County Fairgrounds. And if you need more information, you can find that at the fair's website, which is flaglercountyfair.com. It's my understanding, I guess there will not be a fair this year, obviously, because of the pandemic, but the youth show and the livestock show and sale will still be happening this weekend. So please look for that and support that. Also, we have an upcoming commission workshop today. It's at 1 o'clock here in the chambers. And the next regularly scheduled meeting of our commission will be Monday, April the 19th, and that's our traditional 5 p.m. meeting. So that's it for announcements and changes to the agenda. We'll move into recognitions, proclamations, and presentations. We don't have any recognitions, so we'll move to proclamations. And first up is National Healthcare Decisions Month, which is we're recognizing for April 2021. And I think Commissioner Hanson,
Yes, sir.
do the honors, please.
This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 2021 as National Healthcare Decisions Month in Flagler County. Whereas National Healthcare Decisions Day is recognized across our nation on April 16, 2021, to raise public awareness of the need to plan ahead for healthcare decisions, especially those related to end-of-life care and medical decision-making when patients are unable to speak for themselves, and to encourage the specific use of advanced directives to communicate these important healthcare decisions. And whereas many Flagler County, Florida residents have not yet prepared for healthcare decisions in times of crisis or at end of life, nor had important conversations with their families and their healthcare providers and documented those decisions. And whereas it is likely a significant reason for these low percentage is that there is both a lack of awareness and an uncertainty in the public about advanced directives. And whereas one of the goals of Healthcare Decisions Day is to raise awareness and provide clear and consistent information to the public about advance directives, as well as to encourage medical professionals and lawyers to volunteer their time and efforts to improve public knowledge and increase the number of citizens with advance directives. And whereas Haven Hospice endorses this event and is committed to educating the public during the month of April to stress the importance of discussing healthcare choices and executing advance directives to make their wishes known. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim April 2021 as National Healthcare Decisions Month and encourage all citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of care at the end of life and to observe this month with appropriate activities and programs. Adopted this 5th day of April 2021, attested by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Court and Comptroller, and signed by our County Commissioner Chairman, Don O'Brien.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think we have Marjorie Marcus. Morning, Marjorie. Do you want to come forward? Accept that, and if you have some words you want to share with us, please do so.
I just have a quick statement. I just want to say that
Marjorie?
Haven recognizes the importance.
Marjorie, would you please, yeah, I got to have you talking to the mic.
Okay.
And you're welcome to take the mask off
Okay,
if you
you
like.
could hear me. Haven recognizes the importance of each individual having the opportunity to complete their advance directives. It is important to have the paperwork in place so someone can speak for you when you cannot speak for yourself. In April, we celebrate National Healthcare Decisions Month, and we are happy to help anybody over the age of 18 with their advance directives. So thank you very much for this proclamation.
Yes. Thank you, Marjorie, and thank you to Haven for bringing that forward for us. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the proclamation making April 2021 as National Healthcare Decisions Month.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Next up, we have a proclamation regarding Crime Victims' Rights Week in Flagler County, and I'm going to take that one. Whereas in 1982, the President's Task Force on Victims of Crime envisioned a national commitment that launched the Victims' Rights Movement, inspired its progress, and continues to advance the cause of justice for crime victims. And whereas the Victims' Rights Movement has resulted in the passage of laws at the local, state, and federal levels that establish essential rights for victims. And whereas the rights of crime victims are best protected when all participants in the criminal justice process, not only victims, are appropriately educated about victims' rights. And whereas supporting victims of crime is crucial to the U.S. justice system because our support honors the experiences of victims and allows them to find autonomy and empowerment through achieving self-defined goals. And whereas we must help victims assess the justice, assistance, and support they need to rebuild their lives, and whereas advocacy by and for victims of crime is itself a form of seeking justice, no less than justice sought in the courts. And whereas the accomplishments of the victims' rights movement achieved through compassion and collaboration and build on the courageous advocacy of individual victims and their families across the country, inspire in us hope for future progress and greater healing. And whereas we are determined to respond to crime and violence by helping victims find not only support, recovery, and justice, but also a sense of hope for their future. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to ensuring that accessible, appropriate, and trauma-informed services are offered to all victims of crime. And whereas the Flagler County Sheriff's Office and the Flagler County Victim Advocate Alliance, comprised of victim advocates from Flagler County Sheriff's Office, the Flagler Beach Department, the State Attorney's Office, the 7th Judicial Circuit, and the Family Life Center, are hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victim service providers, and bringing hope and while facilitating healing for all victims and survivors. Now, therefore, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of April the 18th through the 24th, 2021, as Crime Victims' Rights Week, and reaffirm this county's commitment to creating a victims' service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year, and to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. Adopted this 5th day of April 2021, attested to by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Circuit Court, and signed by myself, Donald O'Brien, Chair of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. And I'm not sure who would like to speak on this item today. I see you here, Sheriff. Oh,
So, Mr. Chairman, Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley. With me is Commander Jen Taylor of our Investigative Services Division and a whole bunch of victim advocates and our domestic violence investigator, Fiona. And just over the weekend, as you may have seen, just how critical it is to support our victims is that a phenomenal team saved a lady's life today by apprehending a guy that drove all night to come down and kill her. And investigators did a great job, and our patrol deputies apprehended him and protected the victim. So it's just some really great police work, and followed up by victim advocates. So I'll let Commander Taylor, if she would like to say anything, or anybody else.
I just wanted to introduce the rest of our team here. This is our domestic violence analyst, and this is Nikki North, and she's brought us to a new level here with our technology here. And this is Detective Fiona Ebrel. She's our domestic violence detective. And then we have our victim advocate here, Nicole Farmer, and Mary Donardi is off today, so otherwise she would be here too. We'll continue to support the community and all the victims of the community, and we look forward to it. And thank you for giving us the opportunity.
thank you so much for your service and all that you do for our community. And that was a very poignant and scary story that we read about this past weekend. So thank you. All right. Yes.
I also would like to thank the Flagler Victim Advocate Alliance and all the victim advocates, if they can stand up, because we couldn't do what we do without a team to support each other. We're a body, and we all can't be the eyes, we all can't be the feet, but we all are an important part of supporting the victims here in Flagler County.
Right.
And I need every last one of these women standing up to do it, and we encourage and support each other, and gentlemen. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that it wasn't a one-man or woman show. We need this entire body to function for these victims.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Picture. Can we give him a hand? Yeah.
You're the best.
We maybe get a photo with y'all, and if y'all want to come on up, we just go around the front, it'd be great. Here, Commander.
Been vaccinated. Thank y'all for what y'all do. Y'all
thank
are
you very
the
much.
best.
That's all right.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the proclamation for Crime Victims' Rights Week, designating April 18th and 24th as such.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 None opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Next up is a recognition of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And I guess I have that one too. Everybody else is getting a turn, so we'll do that. All right. This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 2021 also as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Flagler County. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual assault violence is widespread and impacts every person in this community. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impact our community, and statistics show that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point in their lives, that 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience a sexual assault before age 18. Youth ages 12 through 17 are 2.5 times as likely to be victims of rape or sexual assault, and on campus, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted. And whereas during 2020, the Family Life Center, as the certified rape crisis center in Flagler County, provided 34 sexual assault-related community education events, 2,588 supportive services, and answered 69 sexual assault crisis hotline calls for survivors of sexual assault and their families living in Flagler County. And whereas the Start by Believing public awareness campaign, a program of End Violence Against Women International, is designed to improve the responses of friends, family members, and community professionals so they can help sexual assault victims access supportive resources and engage the criminal justice system. And whereas Flagler County joins advocates and communities across the country because we are strongest when we raise our voices together to change the culture to prevent sexual violence. Prevention requires addressing the root causes and social norms that allow sexual violence to exist. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. And whereas the Flagler County Advocate Alliance, comprised of victims advocates from the Bunnell Police Department, the Family Life Center, the Flagler Beach Police Department, the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, and the Office of the State Attorney, and also the 7th Judicial Circuit in Flagler, is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victim responders, and working for a better future for all victims and survivors. Now, therefore, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 2021 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the County of Flagler, and do hereby encourage all citizens to support the Start by Believing public awareness campaign. Adopted this 5th day of April 2021, signed by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Circuit Court, and myself, Donald O'Brien, Chair of the Flagler County Commission. And I know we have some folks from Family Life Center here as well.
Good morning, County Commissioners.
Good morning.
Hope everyone enjoyed their Easter weekend. So my name is Gary Perkins. I'm the Community Relations Advocate for the Family Life Center. And behind me, I have fellow advocates who work hard every day to raise awareness against domestic violence and sexual assault. I want to thank Sheriff Staley and his deputies for all they do in our community to, eradicate sexual violence and domestic violence here in our county. Every 73 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted. Every 9 minutes, that person is a child. So if you think about it, by the time this meeting ends, you're looking at 8 to 9 children that have been sexually assaulted. And I want to challenge this commission and our audience members to just speak to your children about it. Just make sure that they understand how to have healthy relationships, because if someone's not talking to their children, they're going to learn it from the internet. They're going to learn it from outside sources. So us being a small, small community, it's very important that we have those conversations and we try to do everything that we can to eradicate sexual assault. Especially as men, we need more allies. We need to be on the forefront of this, because honestly, a lot of times it's the men that are committing such heinous acts. So I just want to make note that if anyone has ever experienced sexual assault or domestic violence, they can give our crisis helpline a call. It's open 24/7, and the number is 386-437-3505. Again, Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We have a lot planned for this month and 2021. 2020 was a crazy year, but we didn't stop working. We were there. Our advocates were there. So we want to just make up for all the outreach that we missed in 2020 and just have a very powerful presence in the community in 2021. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you to all you ladies for all the work that you do for us. You want to get another photo? Or? Okay. Gary.
Thank you, guys. Hard job.
Motion
Mr.
to,
Chairman, I move that we approve the proclamation making Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April 2021.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, that motion carries unanimously. And next up is recognition of Water Conservation Month. We're going to have a busy April here going on. And Commissioner Sullivan, I ask for you to help with that, please.
A proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners designating April 2021 as Water Conservation Month in Flagler County. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas clean and sustainable water resources are vital to Florida's environment, economy, and quality of life, and whereas more than 90% of Florida's drinking water is supplied by underlying aquifers, and our quality of life and the economy depend upon a reliable, clean, and available supply of water and a healthy environment. And whereas the state of Florida, the St. Johns River Water Management District, and Flagler County are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation and to increase their efforts to conserve water. And whereas all water users, including residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, institutional, hospitality, private citizens, and others, make positive contributions to reduce water use and protect Florida's water resources. And whereas the state of Florida has designated April, typically a dry month when water demands are most acute, Florida's Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's water precious resources. Now, therefore, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the month of April 2021 as Water Conservation Month in Flagler County and call upon the citizens and businesses of Flagler County to help protect this precious resource by practicing water saving measures and become more aware of the need to conserve water, adopted this 5th day of April 2021, attested Tom Bexley, Clerk of Circuit Court and Controller, and signed by our Chairman, Donald O'Brien. So thank you very much, and it's true of the proclamations that we're doing today, this may be the least controversial, so it's water, but water is really important, as we know. So please come forward. And here's the.
Thank you so much for recognizing Water Conservation Month. I'm Jennifer Mitchell with the St. Johns River Water Management District, and we do hope that you, as the County Commission, will continue to be leaders in the community and understand how much water we do use in our homes and look for ways to conserve, because even small changes such as taking a shorter shower, controlling your irrigation system, or even just turning off the water while you brush your teeth can save lots of water as we move forward. And so thank you so much.
All right.
Tim Telfer, Resiliency and Resource Stewardship Manager for Flagler County. And just in brief, if anybody has any questions on this subject matter, they're welcome to contact county staff. We'll walk you through the irrigation schedule. It's generally tied to daylight savings time, and the goal of this ordinance is really to avoid watering in the hottest part of the day between 10 and 4 there. We've also got some guidance on the schedule for irrigation. It's really tied to your house number, odd versus even days, and anybody that has any questions about it is welcome to contact staff, and we'll walk them through and guide them through the rule here.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. You got that proclamation?
Mr. Chairman, you know, the home builders could help in this. They always put the water heater at one end of the house and the bathroom at the other end of the house, which if you want hot water, you sit there and turn it on and let it run and let it run and let it run.
That's true.
That's, the home builders could help us here.
I would also just quickly say that the resources that the district has with their website are really real strong and very helpful. They have a lot of good conservation tips and techniques and a lot of information that consumers can use and professionals. So would encourage anyone to visit their website if you get a chance or you want to find out more information. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd
Yeah.
like to make a motion to approve April 2021 as Water Conservation Month here in Flagler County.
Second?
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. All right, next up, we have a recognition of another important matter, Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I believe Commissioner Dance, you have that one?
Yes, thank you. My honor to read this proclamation. This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 2021 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Flagler County. Whereas Florida's bright future depends on the healthy development of all its children, and whereas adverse childhood experiences, including the abuse and neglect of children, can cause severe and costly consequences for children, family, and society as a whole. And whereas every child has a right to a safe, healthy, and happy childhood where they have the support necessary to develop to their fullest potential. And whereas research shows that parents and caregivers who have support systems and know how to seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children. And whereas it is vital that individuals, businesses, schools, and community organizations make all children and families a top priority and take action to support the physical, social, emotional, and educational development and competency of all children. And whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption and Child Protection, the Florida Department of Children and Families, and the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, implements Pinwheels for Prevention. And whereas Pinwheels for Prevention is a statewide coordinated campaign aimed to increase awareness of child abuse prevention efforts by encouraging healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and community support. And whereas the blue and silver pinwheel displays in this campaign symbolize the health and happiness of all children deserve. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month is an important opportunity to urge all Floridians to engage in activities that strengthen families and communities and provide the optimal environment for healthy child development. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim April 2021 as Child Abuse Prevention Month, adopted this 5th day of April 2021. And today we have Allison Miller from the Early Learning Coalition and a guest from the department. Christy, thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much for taking time to recognize such an important issue in our community. I have some pinwheels, and I want to give one to each of you, and then I'm going to leave some for Commissioner Dance to put out in the building, as well as a sign to show the community the importance of such an issue. And then I'm going to go ahead and let Christy recognize some of our local partners.
Good morning again. My name is Christy Gillis. I'm the Community Development Administrator for the Department of Children and Families. So our big event here in Flagler County is going to be on April 24th at Wadsworth Elementary, Buddy Taylor Middle School. We're going to have a food drop where families can drive through, get food, as well as get prevention materials related to child abuse prevention and healthy families. This is in a partnership with Early Learning Coalition, Flagler County Schools, Flagler County Sheriff's Department, Epicure, Flagler Care Connect, Flagler Cares, Family Life Center, CPC, House Next Door, and Ounce of Prevention. As you can see, it takes a village to help prevent child abuse. Also wanted to introduce some of my coworkers at the department that are out doing the hard work.
Good morning. I'm Crystal Tyler. I'm the program administrator here in Flagler County for the Florida Department of Children and Families.
Crystal.
Morning, I'm Monique Williams, one of the supervisors here for Flagler County.
Thank you.
Wanted to say thank you.
Well, we appreciate it very much, and all that you do in our community. And you normally do that event in the Target parking lot,
Correct. Normally, we do the event in the Target parking lot, but with the pandemic, we wanted something that was more safe.
Yes.
So we're having the drive-through contactless event, and we were able to, again, do this as a whole community, so we're looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. All right.
Let's take a
Would you all take a photo
picture.
with us, please? Thanks.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That's also passes unanimously. And next up is another proclamation, and this one is in recognition of Fair Housing Month for this April 2021, another important matter. Commissioner Mullins, please.
I'd like to read a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 2021 as Fair Housing Month in Flagler County, Florida. Whereas April 11th, 2021 marks the 53rd anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing for all who live in the United States of America. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, handicap, and national origin, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all. And whereas the provision of fair housing opportunities for all Flagler County citizens is vital to the economic stability, community health, and well-being of all citizens and communities in Flagler County. And whereas the Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988 seeks to provide equal housing opportunities to affirmatively further housing choices, to eliminate legal barriers to equal housing, and to emphasize equal housing as a fundamental human right for all. And whereas Flagler County, Florida, fully supports the intent and purpose of the Federal Fair Housing Act and follows policies and practices to achieve its goals. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim April 2021 as Fair Housing Month in Flagler County, Florida, to establish Flagler County as an inclusive community committed to fair housing and to promote appropriate activities by private and public entities intended to provide or advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of Flagler County, Florida. Adopted this 5th day of April 2021 and signed by Tom Bexley, Clerk of Circuit Courts and Comptroller, and Flagler County Board of County Commissioners Chairman Donald T. O'Brien.
Good morning, Joyce.
Good morning. Joyce Bishop, Health and Human Services Director. Thank you very much for this proclamation. This is something to remind us all that we need to collaborate as a community to identify and end discrimination. in our county and throughout the United States. I also wanted to just mention that based on, I wanted to mention because of the article that was in the paper and on Flagler Live regarding the Sadowski Trust Fund, we have our lobbyist jumping right in on this about the Sadowski Trust Fund and how they want to change the whole way it gets distributed. So we're not sitting back on our laurels, addressing the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Oh,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this proclamation for April 2021 as Fair Housing Month.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Next, we'll move on to presentations, and I guess first up is a discussion or an update on work that's being done and talked about with respect to airport noise. We have our airport director, Mr. Seeger. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Roy Seeger. I'm a director of the Flagler Executive Airport, and thank you for your time here this morning. Just wanted to bring you all up to date. As you all know, last year we did Mr. Cameron put together, assembled a group of people to look at the airport noise issue, to come up with some noise abatement procedures and see how we could react to the situation. Could you put that first exhibit back up? Not this right yet. Not this yet. So over the last year, we've come up with, working with this group, we came up with some new fly-friendly voluntary noise abatement procedures. Now, we can only ask aircraft to follow these. We can't make it mandatory. We're a public airport, so all we can do is ask you to cooperate with us. So this is what we came up with right now, is when the air traffic control tower is closed, runway 11 is a designated calm wind runway. The normal traffic pattern altitude is 1,033. That's a 1,000-foot AGL above ground level. When using use right traffic when operating on 11, all crosswind turns should be made when passing through 700 feet MSL. Departing aircraft use best rate of climb, best angle climb, or combination thereof. Reduce power from takeoff climb power as soon as safe and practical. And then this is the big one. This is the voluntary nighttime curfew for training flights. Will be from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. That's from Monday through Saturday, and 9 a.m. on Sundays and national holidays. Stop and go intersection takeoff are strongly discouraged. Use full-length runway when departing unless directed by ATC. Jet aircraft operators use the National Business Aviation Association manufacturers recommended close-in noise abatement departure and arrival procedures. And then helicopter operators should enter the traffic at or above 500 feet. On climb departure, climb within the airport boundary to a minimum of 500 MSL before leading on course. So these procedures are not intended to preempt the responsibilities of the pilot and command for safe operations. These procedures should be used only when practical. In all cases, safety and air traffic control instructions take precedence. So that's what we came up with. A couple of those are really just indicative to our airport. We looked across other airports across the state to see what they were doing and kind of implemented some of those. And so this is what we come up to. So right now we're also working with the creative team, and we are going to put together a pamphlet that we can hand out to people visiting our airport for the first time. And so one of the exhibits that I've come up with right now, so this right here, what you're seeing right there, that's going to be the inside of the pamphlet. That shows all the traffic. The red zones show all the noise-sensitive areas around the airport. As you can see, the airport is surrounded by noise-sensitive areas. It shows the traffic patterns, and it also, one of the things that we've asked too, before we even put this out, we've gotten with all the flight schools. Mr. Cameron and I, just probably last year, I don't know, I think it was last year, can't remember anymore. Or what, was it 19 or 20, Jerry, that we got the flight schools? Was 20 still? So anyway, we got with them, and we actually implemented some of these before they were published. And so they actually been doing this pretty regularly for over the last year. So any questions with that, gentlemen? And then also, once we get this pamphlet done and all these, we're also going to have this published in the airfield, it's called ADFB, which is the Airfield Facilities Directory. So anybody flying into the airport will see that, and they'll see that we have noise abatement procedures published, and that they will look at that to see what they are. Any questions about that, gentlemen? Okay, so in response to that, so while we're doing all this, as you all know, I'm very heavily involved with the CFAST. I was the state chair for that, also the regional chair. And so we get to see a lot of neat, innovative programs out there. And one of the ones that just came up with, this is, if you can put that up now, is this new program called Vert Tower. And I'm going to move over here now so I can. So what Vert Tower is, this is a program that can identify any aircraft in our airspace. It's almost like a radar. So basically what it does, all aircraft have a transponder on it with squats of code. Typically when they're in airspace, it's going to be 1200. But also now, all aircraft are required to have ADS-B. What ADS-B is now is the Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast. So what that does, so as you see right here, you see that airplane right there? So the aircraft looks like we'll see what he's doing here. But it identifies the aircraft. It tells the airspeed he's at. You see that first number says 11, you add a 0, that's 100, he's doing 100 knots, he's at 700 feet. It is an Embry-Riddle aircraft, and it is a Cessna 172. So this piece of equipment, this updates every second. So we can see every aircraft flying in and around our airspace at any given time. So it also does a lot of other neat stuff, figures that we only have one airplane to look at. Right now, it looks like he's leaving the pattern. But the other neat things it does a lot of different, so this right here. So today, it shows that we've done so far 48 operations at the airport. The last one was at 9:33. We'll see what the first one was today. Make sure to see if they're adhering. The first one today was 7:35. The last one, this is also neat about this. So remember we said that we asked people not to do any training at the airport. Well, last night we see there was an airplane at the airport at 11:54 at night. Looks like he came and landed at 11:47 and took back off at 11:54. But we have their aircraft number. We can identify that back to a flight school and then get with them and remind them what our procedures we talked about. Ask them to help us help you, to actually be good stewards here at our airport as well. Also, here's another interesting, just take me a second here. So what this can do too, so say we have somebody that says, hey, I had an aircraft fly over my house at midnight last night, and I want to know who it was. And literally, we can do that now. So just give me a second. I just want to show you real quick here.
Roy, is this a public website?
No, so this is only used by the airport. Oh, it is a website, but we paid for this program. And we'll just go to 1,000 feet. I don't know why all of a sudden, of course, I'm in front of everybody, it doesn't want to work. No, I just wanted to show, I see what happened here. There we go. I had
times
2 days.
that
I had
weren't-
2 days on there.
Yeah.
So what I did, Zinnia Court is one of the areas that we have a lot of aircraft complaints from, because they're actually on the approach end runway 6. But as you can see, it can give you it'll give you the flight path. But this is not the one I wanted to show. For some reason, it's not coming up. Let's see if I can put a different date in here. Okay, so that right there would show all the traffic patterns that was at the airport from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on March 31st. I don't know why it's not doing it here, right now, because typically what you're able to do is to highlight that traffic pattern and actually click on the actual altitude that aircraft was at. So I know we have a meeting this afternoon at the workshop. Maybe I'll figure out what's going on here, why it's not actually showing that. But actually, so this would be good out and around the airport. We just had a situation, somebody in the Mondex called us and said the same thing. They said, this aircraft is over out here buzzing my house. And so we asked them what the time was. We looked into it, and actually we saw the aircraft, and we identified it, but also said the aircraft is 1,100 feet. So the aircraft is totally within its right to be at that altitude in that area. So this is going to be great information for us to just show what the utilization of the airport. It'll be able to show us all kinds of different noise abatement, make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. It also shows, so we can actually get daily traffic reports, we can get hourly traffic reports. The runway ends, they're geofenced, so we can actually show which runway is typically used. It can tell you what type of aircraft typically use our airport. It's single, multi-engine, jet, helicopters. It's all kinds of information. So you see this aircraft right now. That's a Phoenix East airplane. He's on the ground. He's taxiing out. He's a DA-42, getting ready to take off. So it's going to be a great piece of equipment just for us. We see this other aircraft right now. You can see the Embry-Riddle aircraft landing on runway 29 right now. So it has a lot of great information on it. So I got this program so that we can help. When we call the flight schools and we say, hey, why are you coming here after 10 o'clock? This is what we discussed. And they said, oh, we weren't here. And I can pull this up and send them a screenshot exactly what they're doing at the airport.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yeah, Roy, just one question. This is great, and it's fantastic to have this capability. But we still don't have the radar repeater at the tower, which is
No.
But this is fantastic for what you're talking about. But and we're still pushing to get that, I guess.
Still pushing for it, but FAA is still pushing back on it.
Right. Okay.
Let's see, I can show you something right here. So that is the traffic patterns that has been happening at the airport today. And this is nice too, so we can see that aircraft right there, that's what that aircraft has done today at the airport. And I also see here, one of the things that we've asked in our noise abatement procedures is that when they make their turns, they're not making them directly over the actual homes. We're asking them to make it over the green space or over or past the freeway. You can see some are being done over the houses still, but it looks like the majority of it. And as I say that, there he goes right over the houses, like he's not supposed to do. So, all I can do is implement. I can't make him do it. But they are, it looks like they are mostly doing what they're supposed to do.
Shoulder
always
fired-
somebody.
Shoulder fired Sams.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I call this guy when I leave here. Any questions on that, gentlemen? Here's another neat thing it can do too. So we'll have a big screen up in the airport, and then we can have this. We can click on this, and it actually shows what's going on around the airport. You can see all the airplanes now in and around the airport, what they're doing, and it can tell what and what airplanes have just come and gone at the airport right there as well. So we've only had this a couple, 2-3 weeks now, so I'm still getting used to using the system. But it's going to have a lot of great uses for us here to identify what's going on around the airport when nobody's there.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's all I have, gentlemen. If anybody has any other questions.
No, we appreciate you sharing this with us. It's enlightening, and it absolutely looks like the tool that's going to be important to help on addressing some of the issues and concerns.
And point out who the bad guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
All right.
I got his number.
All right.
Henry Riddle.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, second presentation for this morning is an update on our opioid task force, and not sure who is conducting that. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Pam Bertolo, and I'm with Flagler Open Arms Recovery Services. I was here for National Recovery Month, where you made the proclamation. Since then, a lot of exciting things are happening with the recovery movement here in Flagler. Flagler Open Arms, since that time, has received 2 grants, one from DCF for Narcan distribution. We are now one of 3 organizations who distribute Narcan in Flagler. And the other, an operational grant from the federal government, which allowed us to stop being just virtual and actually have an employee who I'm going to introduce, Danielle Moy. And Danielle is our peer support specialist. We also have managed to produce over hundreds of hours of educational opportunities for the county. As you know, our charge is education, advocacy, and support for anything surrounding substance use disorder, which includes alcohol, legal drugs, and illegal drugs. So we also have with us today one of our board members, hiding, Alicia Vincent. So I'm going to let Danielle tell you a little bit about some of the exciting projects she has.
Hello, I'm Danielle Moy. I'm a certified recovery peer specialist registered in Flagler County. And just a few things that I'm doing over at Flagler Open Arms Recovery Services is one-on-one recovery coaching for anybody who is having issues with substance use disorder, or a family member that might be trying to help somebody that has substance use disorder. Another thing that I'm doing is helping families with their case plans if they have an open case with CPC or DCF due to substance use disorder. And then we have recovery groups twice a week at Flagler Open Arms Recovery Services, and all of our services are free for anybody in the county that has anything to do with substance use disorder.
And then the last thing I'd like to leave you with is that we are a membership organization. So we are run by our members. We have meetings the 2nd and 4th Mondays of every month. The board meeting is the 2nd. Like this meeting, it's open to the public. And then the 4th meeting is for the visioning meeting for the membership. So we would encourage anyone in this room to join us. Thank you.
Anything else, ladies?
Hello.
Morning.
My name is Kimala Middleton, and I'm representing Open Door Ministries. I am the new supervisor administrator for the new female, all-women halfway house in Flagler County. I just wanted to introduce myself to you and to tell you that we are bringing recovery into Flagler County. There's a lot of issues surrounding the opiate addiction, and a lot of our children are dying here. And my hope is to see them come through the worst of circumstances to the best of circumstances, to live their fullest potential. There is hope in recovery. There is life in recovery. And I'm going to need your support at some point because I want to do great things here in Flagler County to address these issues. But first of all, we put God first, and recovery then goes hand in hand. So I would like to see that happen. So I'm representing myself, and I work for Pastor Solano, and who I guess could not be here today. So I know that he's doing great things in the men halfway house here in Flagler. And so we'll continue to work as a team to be a benefit to this county. And we will represent 100% at all times. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Oh,
Good morning. I'm Valerie Duquette. I'm the Director of Behavioral Health Services at Flagler Hospital up in St. Augustine. Commissioner Mullins has asked us to participate here and there in the opioid task force just as kind of an education piece of what we're doing in St. Johns County. And we have, over the last few years, created quite a collaborative partnership with multiple community agencies in our county, one of which is Epic Behavioral, who is our lead agency for our opioid management in St. Johns County. It does take a village, truly it does. It takes collaboration and partnership with multiple agencies, starting with the hospital as a referral source and all of your other primary care offices and any other referral source, public or private, to an agency that is equipped to do the treatment and the recovery afterwards. Peer specialists are amazing. They do great work in wrapping around services, but it truly does take every agency that has an interest in that to be able to actually serve this population and really make a difference in these people's lives. So Kristen can speak more to what Epic actually does when we refer them and hand off the folks, but it really truly has been a process of learning and building these relationships to be able to actually get folks to the right place and get them wrapped around with the right services.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Huber, and I'm the nurse manager at the Epic Recovery Center located in St. Augustine. And we are a 10-bed detox facility and a 6-bed residential facility right now. And what we do is, we've partnered with Flagler Hospital up in St. Johns County, and they refer patients there that are in need of treatment for opioid use disorders. So once they're referred, we have our peer support specialists who, help link them to services at Epic, and then we provide the treatment for the opioid use disorder in the detox facility. Our detox facility is typically about a 4 to 10 day stay, and then we do have residential services that the stay can be longer, which is about a 30-day stay. And basically a big part of what we do is establishing those partnerships with those facilities like Flagler Hospital, and it, like Valerie said, it really does take a village to, partner together and to combat this terrible epidemic. Epic is not only just the recovery center, but we also do other things up in St. Johns County, and I have Sarah Rattan, our clinical director here, so she's going to speak a little bit more about what we do on the other side of Epic.
Kristen, your contract provided to LHS?
LSF.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yes.
I said-
Yes.
Right out of my head. Okay, and is your facility male or female or both?
Both.
Okay. And you foresee that we need to have that same level of facility in Flagler County?
Yes, it's absolutely necessary, for the treatment of opioid use disorder.
Do you work with just adults?
Yes, we do just adults in the facility, 18 or older, yes.
Okay.
Here's Sarah.
Hello, I'm the clinical director at Epic Behavioral Health, and an add-on to work with Flagler is that we use the peers for our hospital bridge program, and it's also to link people either into detox or into outpatient, and potentially into medication-assisted services as well. So we offer Vivitrol and buprenorphine for medication-assisted as well for folks in very early recovery. Additionally, I think it was mentioned here before, we are starting a partnership with the Flagler County Jail, and we are in our planning phase right now. That I believe, if all the budgetary acquisitions happen, we will be starting that by the fall. But we are bringing a clinician, a substance use clinician, and a peer recovery person for substance use attached with Flagler County Jail to work with inmates, doing brief interventions while they're in jail, but also linking them over into the community. I'm sure we will be working with community partners and trying to do that, basically kind of use some, follow them short-term into the community for that transitional piece, because we know, all of us know that that first few days transitioning back into community is crucial in getting them started on the right path.
Can I ask a question about the peer recovery side?
Yes.
Is there a lot of pushback on having them come into facilities, the hospital or the jails? No? That used to be the case, is that not correct?
No,
Yeah.
I can speak from the hospital perspective. We love having the peers there.
Yeah.
They can engage with these individuals in a way that a physician or a nurse or just a standard therapist can't do. They also have the luxury of being able to spend multiple days with folks if they are hospitalized for medical reasons. They can continue to come back. They can continue to visit and continue to work with them and continue that engagement and really help them to see what's on the other side.
What level of education or training do the peers go through or have?
It's really a person with lived experience. To be certified in Florida, you have to have at least 2 years of sober time. And then they have is it 2 week? Yeah, 2 week, I think, courses.
So you have to have 2 years in recovery. You also have to have 500 experience hours. It can be volunteer or you can be getting paid. I went through SMA and got my hours. You then have to have 16 supervision hours, and that's right now with like a clinical supervisor. And then you also have to take an exam with the Florida Certification Board. Excuse me. And then once you pass that, you can get certified, and then you have to have 3 professional references.
Okay.
And then you can be fully certified.
Thank you. Mullins, did you?
Other questions?
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, I said any other questions?
I wanted to let my colleagues up here know this is the importance of this task force. It's brought together these entities that haven't been communicating or haven't had the ability to communicate or didn't know about each other that are now communicating, and we have a very strong plan in place and a place to go when someone suffers addiction. And I want to applaud all you guys. You're the key to making this work. Like you said, it brought the village together to communicate. And I do want to say, even though some of the other commissioners aren't at the task force, they fully have shown support for this as well. Because of sunshine issues and different things, one of us tries to go, but they really appreciate you guys coming here and communicating. And as Ors has said, and we talked about at the Tri-County meeting, opioid abuse is a regional issue that we have, and maybe it's strengthening, not necessarily bringing ORS to here yet. I'm sorry, Epic and ORS, but not bringing Epic here yet, but maybe helping them up in St. John's increase bed size to have some Flagler beds for us as well. And Flagler Hospital has been phenomenal working with us. We look forward to growing in our county, but you guys have been phenomenal bringing these services that the community's needed. So I just wanted to let the colleagues know and then let you guys know there's a lot of support. This has been everybody's concern.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for bringing that up, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Good.
All right, we'll move on to our next section of the agenda, which is the community outreach portion, and I'll just read this real quick. This is a 30-minute time period allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. And it is now open. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien and Commissioners. I'm Roberta Paletta, or also known as Robin Paletta, more casually. I have 3 items I'd like to comment on. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Cameron for his work. It's a shame that you have to retire, but trust me, you'll enjoy it. But I want to thank you for all the work that you've done in cleaning up the messes since you've come on board. I am also waiting since November 2019 when I brought up the issue of impact fees. I was told that there was going to be a study, and I think I was told that last summer when I raised it again. And I'm still waiting for the results as to whether or not the county is going to follow Palm Coast's lead in raising impact fees for individual homes on developers, because the revenue is always welcome. I mean, we just saw this morning the crying need for human services in the county, and this is revenue that could be put to good use. And also my final item is at the March 15th meeting, I raised the question of whether or not there was an assessment of fines for the non-permitted construction work on John Anderson Highway at the Gardens entrance, proposed entrance. The construction went on for 16 days without a permit between December 29th to January 14th, when permits were finally issued. I still haven't heard anything as to whether or not that developer was assessed a fine, because it was in violation of the county's own ordinances. So, and as I said before, I think it's a slap in the face to the contractors who follow the rules and regulations and play by the rules. I think that's something we should expect of everybody. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Paletta. Anyone else for community outreach?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Riles. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Volusia and Flagler Counties. I brought with me Ms. Carolyn Thompson, who is our Unit Director over at the Rimfire Elementary Boys and Girls Club. Just a couple of things to say to you guys this morning as I scroll through the 6 pages in my notes, as I figured out what we want to say to you guys, because thanks to our long-standing partnership with you guys and the school system here, we've had a Boys and Girls Club here since 1998. We started at the Carver Community Center. We opened up a small site in Espanola. We were in Bunnell Elementary. We've operated some teen programs out of Flagler Palm Coast High School on their campus. We currently operate at Rimfire Elementary. We serve dozens of kids on a daily basis there. And basically, what we're looking at here is that we just want to say thank you for what you guys have done to us. The support you guys have given us, the peace of mind that it gives our parents to know that we're operating in the school. We don't have to transport the kids there. And, we really rely on our public and private partnerships to exist, and the one that we have here is one of the best. I've distributed some copies of the annual report. In there, you can see that Rimfire Boys and Girls Club served 100 kids last year. 95% of those kids were free reduced lunch. More than 3/4 of them were from single-parent homes, and 100% of them received academic assistance and substance abuse awareness classes and prevention classes. One of the things I do want to point out is, in here, there's an alumni testimonial, and I thought it was pretty appropriate considering that this is the month for domestic violence awareness, child abuse awareness. And Miss Emma Sanders, who was the very first club member of the very first Flagler Boys and Girls Club here, actually works as a domestic violence advocate and prevention specialist. And she's dedicated her life. She was our 2005 Organizational Youth of the Year, but she was homegrown here in Flagler County and came as one of our first kids here in this club. And she's still there. She's a graduate out of Bethune-Cookman University. And we're just real proud to say that, again, she was the very first member here in Flagler at the Boys and Girls Club. In 2020, we did physically close all of our clubs, but we continue to serve our members virtually with academic assistance, mentoring, of course, emotional support through everything that they're having to go through. During that time, we did suspend all fees for everything, and that was including all our clubs in Volusia County as well. We have 7 there. And, you know, we continue to have the tradition of we never turn a kid away for their inability to pay. And we're really proud of our staff for staying open and serving the first responders and things like that. I know I've only got a couple seconds left here, so if Ms. Carolyn, if there's anything that you'd like to say.
She's a separate speaker. She's welcome to have 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, I might take some of your time then. I'm just saying that, you know, thank you so much again, and we're just really looking for some new ways to get some support from the county and continue our partnership and really build our clubs and continue to build our kids. And a lot of the people who spoke today are our partners. Sheriff Saley is on our board. Mr. Mullins, you've come out and visited the clubs. We welcome any of you to please come out and visit us at any time. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the update. Okay. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Thompson, and I am the unit director of the Rimfire Boys and Girls Club. And I would just like to come and say thank you on behalf of our kids. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our kids, they have a place to be safe, have fun, have healthy meals, enriching programs, and homework help. You know, what's so enriching and what's such a blessing is that our kids, when they come, when it's time for their parents to come and pick them up, they don't want to leave. They don't want to go home. And that lets us know that our kids do need a place where they can feel safe and they can feel comfortable and where they can express themselves. So on behalf of our kids, I want to say thank you for having a place for our kids to come. And in a time like this and in our societies, you know, they can be nurtured and they can be safe from the things that are in the streets. You know, we don't have to worry about our kids walking the street or having latchkey kids that, you know, when they leave and from school, they have nowhere to go. And, you know, even from home, from school to home, sometimes we don't know what our kids are doing. So knowing that we have a place where our kids can come and feel safe, secure, be themselves, have a nice hot meal, and just have fun. And if they need help with their homework, help with their homework. And also, as I said before, enriching programs to build our kids up to have a life where they don't have to worry about drugs or alcohol because they have so much other things that they're involved with. So once again, on behalf of our kids, I want to say thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Good morning, Commissioner Hanson, Commissioner Dance, Chairman O'Brien, Commissioner Mullins, Commissioner Sullivan, County Attorney Hadid, and County Administrator Cameron. My name is Raymond Anthony Crown, and I'm not running for Mayor of Palm Coast anymore. I'm running for Flagler County Commissioner in the year of our Lord 2024, and I don't need $100,000 a year. It only costs $30,000 a year to live in Florida, so I'm giving $70,000 of my salary away. I'm giving $10,000 to Church of Christ of Flagler County, $10,000 to First United Methodist Church of Bunnell, $10,000 to Shop with a Cop, $10,000 to Police Athletic League, $10,000 to Florida Sheriff Youth Ranches, $10,000 to the VFW Palm Coast, Post 8696, where you retired the flag I told you was ripped at the Chamber of Commerce, yet you didn't put a new one up. I suppose you will when the chamber reopens due to COVID. that it's closed, and 10,000 Shriners hospitals for children, since I worked there as a fugitive from justice in Anchorage, Alaska, in 2002 to 2005, when the United States Marshals were looking for me. And I'm becoming a Master Mason and a free Mason and a Master Mason, and then a Shriner. And right now, I clean up litter everywhere I go in St. John's, Flagler, and Volusia counties. And as governor of the great state of Florida, me and the First Lady, Charlotte Crown, are going to make it a $300 fine for one cigarette butt, because it is ridiculous that it is a pound of litter. Retired Flagler Beach Chief of Police Cody, my friend, told me that is the state statute. I picked up a 5-pound bag of litter that I took a picture of on westbound 100 in the middle of the road on the dotted line that traffic was going around at Diane K. Upton's memorial that I knew. And I took pictures of and prayed for her and all the people that have perished on the roadways due to drunk drivers that I report because I'm becoming a member of DAD. And I'm adopting US 1 and Palm Coast Parkway to get my names on the signs because I already clean them up. And it doesn't make any sense that you have to litter a pound to get a fine. So the first law I'm going to pass as county commissioner is quadruple the fine on a pound of litter. And then as governor of the great state of Florida in the year of our Lord 2032 and 2036, it will be a $300 fine, one for the Father, one for the Son, and one for the Holy Ghost for your first offense on a cigarette butt, and a $1,000 fine on your second offense, because I don't even have an ashtray in my Chevy Tahoe. I use a soda can or a coffee bottle to put my Dijon Black cigarette butts out in. And, you know, I like to keep Flagler County and the United States of America beautiful and clean. Thank you for your time. I prayed for you all yesterday on my knees in my church. In church where my pastor's mother passed in her sleep last week. You all have a great day. God bless you and the work you do.
Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else for community outreach? Raymond.
My name is Don Roy, and I live on Woodhaven Drive in Palm Coast, and I'm concerned about the speed limits on these side roads. They are posted 30 miles an hour. Basically, there are no sidewalks. The road is relatively narrow. I came from a rural community in Rhode Island. Western Rhode Island is rural, as well as Eastern Connecticut. The road was actually wider than my road, and the speed limit was 25. Now, on my particular road, it's got the double line and also a passing line, and people are going a lot faster than 30 miles an hour, closer to 40 sometimes. People are walking in the street, children are riding their bikes in the street, so I'm concerned about that, and I really think you consider at least lowering it to 25 or possibly 20. There's no reason to speed in residential areas. That's my main concern, and someone's going to get hurt or killed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for community outreach? All right, seeing no one else come forward, I'll close community outreach portion of our agenda. Let's see. Mr. Cameron, any update on situation over at the Gardens with the fines and the impact fee study?
The impact fee study is complete. It is, in my opinion, a pretty accurate assessment of the cost of the negative externalities of development. It will be presented to you. We would like to present it simultaneously with an attainable housing ordinance that will allow us to keep whatever impact fees you should choose to adopt from further aggravating the workforce housing situation. So you should expect that probably the first or second meeting in May. with regard to fines and activities associated with the Gardens project. I'm advised that that is in litigation, and it would be inappropriate for me to comment on it.
Okay. I'm just going to take a point of personal privilege and say, with respect to developers do not pay impact fees. They pass them on to the consumer, you know.
That
in
is
every single
correct, sir.
case, and that's economically proven fact. So we'll just leave that at that. In terms, Mr. Roy, in terms of speed limits, if you live on Woodhaven, you said Woodhaven Drive in Palm Coast, you know, it's a city road, not part of our jurisdiction here for the county. I would certainly recommend you talk to the Sheriff's Department about your issues, and/or, you know, your city council person for that area. You know, but the interior roads, any road, I do know as a longtime Palm Coast resident that any road in Palm Coast that has a driveway on it, the speed limit is 30 miles an hour. And I don't know that they would be, you know, receptive to changing it, but that's, you know, obviously something you want to have a discussion with them about. And I would encourage you to do that. Yes, sir. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
Might I add that the Community Traffic Safety Team's mission is regards to traffic safety, and to the gentleman's benefit, I'll bring that item to the agenda for discussion at the next meeting.
Great. Yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. And then next on our item, item on our agenda is board comments on consent items. And again, this is a process for us to have any comments or discussion, not discussion, but comments on something that's on the consent agenda that we're not going to pull for full debate and discussion and then a vote. So well, if we have any of those, I would ask that we do. You chimed in. I apologize, Commissioner.
Yeah, a couple of just, I will have a couple of things on the consent, but on the impact fees, I notice in reading through the, what the state legislature is doing right now, there's a lot of talk about impact fees. I don't know if any of those discussions or results from this year will impact our impact study, but maybe that's already been considered or not. I just don't know, but it might be something to just think about. On the consent agenda comments, I have a couple of things I don't want to pull, but I want to speak about because I think they're good things. And that is first, the fact that item 7E, consideration of early payoff of the tourist development tax revenue bond, that's really a significant step for Flagler County. The chairman and Mr. Hanson remember what we went through in order to finance the first northern 12 miles of sand restoration on the beaches. And that was a big deal to put that loan onto our Tourist Development 111 fund. And the fact that we're now able, through good management of our tourist development side of things, that we can now pay that loan off early and save $500,000 in interest fees, I think is really an excellent comment on good management. So that would be one comment. Next, this may be viewed as unnecessary, but we're renaming Sea Ray Drive to Unsinkable Street. I would have chosen Whaler Way as a better name, but since it is Boston Whaler, and Unsinkable may be a little obtuse for people to understand. So that's one more comment. The other one is, I know we all don't look at every line, but I don't know if everybody noticed, but this time for this meeting, the disbursement reports were 180 pages, one line at a time. And there's a lot of interesting things in there, like I guess there's a new fire engine in there that we bought, a number of things like that that are pretty significant. I do have one question, and it kind of concerns our item 7L, which again, I'm not saying to pull, but since we got rid of didn't get rid of, but no longer involved with the Wickline Center in Flagler Beach, our congregate mail are now going to be done at the Church on the Rock. So we're already paying $3,300 a month since, I think, January or February. And I'm not sure when we're going to start the congregate meals there again. So in the meantime, we are spending some money for that facility, which we all agreed to. I'm not challenging that, but maybe there might be, I see Joyce is here, maybe some idea when we think we might get started again on the actual meals. And I do have one consent item that I like to pull for further comment, and that's 7K.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners, just comments on items before we go to the actual consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
Yes, following Commissioner Sullivan on 7D, the renaming of the street, I wanted to thank Ms. Pardini for chatting with me about that. And the names were recommended by the Whaler Corporation. So they were the ones that actually wanted the street name that way, and the address numbers being changed to correlate with the year of their founding. And in chatting with her, just wanted to give a shout out to Ms. Dolores Key. I know she's been helping with that transition for Whaler as well to move into that facility. So I wanted to thank her for her efforts as well.
Okay. All right. If there's no other comments, then we'll move on to the consent agenda, and we'll start with you, Commissioner Dance. Anything to pull from the agenda?
Mr. Sullivan already mentioned it, 7K.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have none.
And again, 7K.
7K, and the chair has none. So I'll entertain a motion on that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7K.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion carries unanimously. And item 7K, y'all can choose who wants to go first.
I probably have different, I can say a couple of things, and then Mr. Dance wants to say something.
I just had talked to Faith about just speaking to the complexity of the issue and what is coming up in the future as well for the project, because it's a big dollar amount, even though it's nothing that won't be replaced. But I think it's just an important project that needed further discussion.
Yeah, my thoughts on this is that, as Mr. Dance has said, this is a really major operation. We just are now, as I mentioned, paying off the loan for the 12 miles of beach sand that we put in, the northern 12 miles of our 18-mile beach. The Army Corps program in Flagler Beach is going to do about 2.5 miles from starting at 6th Street south of the pier. This money, I believe, and that's what I wanted a little more information on, is to do the rest of the 18 miles that isn't covered by the Army Corps program. But I do think it's a complex issue, and I wanted to make sure that this money covers that part, because then we still have other things to think about in the future beyond this. So maybe just a little update on that for us, for me anyway.
Good morning, Faith Al-Khatib, engineer. This project is just related to 2.8 miles within the city Flagler Beach limit. As you mentioned, 2.6 miles can be done by the Corps of Engineers. We have $17 million for that project, 11 million Corps of Engineers, 6 million from FDOT funding. This project, the 8 million plus, is FDOT state funding. Soon we'll be coming to the board to do a workshop to talk about the beach management study. And at that meeting, we'll be talking about the 18 miles plan for the coastline of Flagler County. So again, this project design phase has been done, completed, and the permits are completed. It's going to be a dredging operation. As I mentioned, only within the city Flagler beach limit, And also, we received $3.8 million FTEP funding to do the park there, Gumbel Roger Park within the city of Flagler Beach. It's in the end, by the south side of the city of Flagler Beach. So.
I thought some of this money that we're talking about right here in this item is for the area north of the pier, up to 20th Street North, is that right?
Yes, but
Okay.
within the city of Flagler Beach, not
Yeah.
within north of the city of Flagler
But
Beach.
it's outside the Army Corps.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner? All right. Seeing no other discussion, I'll open this item up for public comment. Seeing no one approach the podium, I'll close public comment and entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve item 7K, consideration and approval of the joint participation agreement and the authorizing resolution between the Florida Department of Transportation and Flagler County for construction of the State Road A1A Dune Restoration Project, FDOT Financial Management Number 440557-8-58-01, in the amount of $8,697,200.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Unopposed, that motion carries unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to general business. First item is item 8A, and that's consideration of resolutions adopting the updated comprehensive emergency management plan and the local mitigation strategy, also known as LMS. And we have our emergency management director, Mr. Lord.
Morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I first apologize for giving you a very lofty reading assignment the past couple of weeks. These two items don't typically come together. Actually, the CEMP would have been done about 3 or 4 months ago, which is when we submitted it last fall. But with all the activity due to COVID-19, the state did not get around to actually reading it themselves to give their initial approval before we could present it to you until about a month or so ago. So unfortunately, that lined up with the local mitigation strategy, which we're actually ahead of schedule with that one. They both lined up together, which is, while it's a lot of reading for you all and for a lot of work for our staff over the last year or so in the midst of COVID, putting these documents together, it's actually kind of nice that they lined up together because the documents actually rely on each other very, very, very importantly, rely on each other. So it actually allowed us to synchronize some things a little better than the normal update cycle would have allowed for us. The local mitigation strategy, as you know, as you saw in the staff report, is something that we have to submit to the state about every 5 years. It's not a hard 5 years, it's kind of a soft 5 years based on the state cycle. But it's something we do have to submit, get their approval. It comes to you to be adopted, and then it goes back to them for their final approval once you all have adopted it. That comprehensive emergency management plan is the base guiding document that describes how we respond to disasters. The significance of this one, and we had some major changes in it, was because this is the first one that myself and my team have touched. The last one was done by the prior emergency management team and prior administration. And we had the opportunity of Hurricane Dorian and COVID, which was a very unique disaster that's obviously still ongoing, to incorporate some of the changes we've made to our operation into that document to make it more reflective of how we deal with disasters today. So there was some significant updates in that. We also shrunk it a lot from the previous version because there was a lot of, I guess, the prior emergency management administration put a lot of federal information in there, which actually is not required on our end. And the issue with reciting some of those same items from the federal government in the document is the federal government changes its rules or how they do things outside of our cycle. It makes our document out of date. So we did a lot more referring to the federal documents versus actually citing them and quoting them inside of the document. So that helps simplify the document and make sure that we're always in sync with the latest federal guidance. The local mitigation strategy, the purpose of that document is to help us identify what are the major risks in our community. So the CEMP is more about response and how do we plan. The local mitigation strategy is more about how do we protect our community's critical assets from future disasters. It's identifying what kind of disasters impact us in our community, and then what can we do to improve the infrastructure that we have here. And the reason we do that is federal funds become available in multiple different ways. The big pot of money that we get access to is the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, which is after disaster impacts a community, a portion of the cost of the disaster to the federal government is available back to us to harden our infrastructure, whether it's roadways, simple things like changing traffic lights from the wire lights to the solid poles. And again, we don't really get much in the traffic light business, but it impacts Palm Coast and Flagler Beach and DOT. Strengthening our buildings, putting shutters on our buildings so we don't get future damage from windstorms there. Elevating buildings to make sure that they're above floodplain and that kind of stuff. We get access to those funds by having a federally approved local mitigation strategy. So that is the bigger of the documents. That was 600 and some odd pages, as you all saw. A lot of the stuff that's in there is copies of meeting minutes. So that makes the document even longer. It's copies of our process of how we approve projects. Both of these documents apply to the entire jurisdiction of Flagler County. So it's all of our municipalities are also included in both documents. So hopefully I gave a good synopsis for you all, and I know you all spent a lot of time taking a look at it, so thank you.
I think Commissioner Sullivan has a question.
Just,
Yes, sir.
just quickly, this is a pretty, looking through it, it's a pretty complicated document. Was all this done in-house, or do we need outside contractors
This
to help?
version was 100% in-house.
That's really,
I think some of your previous documents, previous administrations, EM administrations had hired contracted help, but my team really worked very hard to do this in the midst of dealing with COVID.
right. So I just wanted to say congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Nope. Okay. All right, thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, so we will open that up for any public comment or discussion. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Request a motion on this item, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the resolution adopting the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan and Local Mitigation Strategy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Item 8B under general business is a review and discussion of a draft joint planning agreement with Volusia County, and I know this arose from our discussions with about a couple of the developments down in that area, PUDs, I believe. So, Mr. Mangle.
Adam Mangle, Growth Management Director. Good morning, Commissioners. I just have one graphic to show on the overhead, and this is the graphic that shows the 3-mile boundary along our common parcel line or boundary line between Volusia and Flagler County. So it's pretty straightforward. This formalizes what had been informal before. We are allowed to enter into joint planning agreements through language within our intergovernmental coordination element in the comprehensive plan, also through enabling language in Florida statutes. This draft agreement makes that which was informal previously formalized. And so it gives then at outreach that's required by us and also then reciprocally by Volusia then for comprehensive plan amendments that would be map amendments specific to a parcel, rezoning, site plans, and subdivisions occurring within that red area here, that common boundary, 3 miles of each side of the line. And you can see some areas that are excluded from that because they're not in our jurisdiction and they're not in Volusia's jurisdiction. So those may be future JPAs for us. Maybe a reason for us to reach out to Ormond Beach and have some specificity with something with them. Also, you can even see some of Daytona Beach. City limits is within that, what would be a 3-mile extension of our boundary at its southeast portion, and then even Pearson. So there may be some future JPAs, at least along the Volusia portion, that we would talk about. And then likewise, this may set in motion then similar arrangements with St. John's and also with Putnam. And so great that you had that tri-county discussion. I think this is a good first step for us. And again, this isn't going to tell us the how. The MOU will come up later. That's going to have some more specificity. This gives that first step then that lays out a process, 7-day notification, not going to require us to complete reviews or them to complete reviews in a comprehensive fashion and provide comments back to us within that 7 days. As much as it's a notification process, has each party then having the ability for the other jurisdiction to be able to say, yes, we're interested in this and we're going to be providing comments to you, or no, we have no concerns. And so that's really what's formalized here. And with that, I'll close. Wait any questions or comments. We do want to come back. If whatever comments you provide, we'll bring this back for you to formally ratify, and then similar action then is being done by Volusia. We think that's going to happen right around April 20th. That would be maybe their approval of this JPA.
I know, Mr. Cameron, you had some things you want to share.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As I said at our Tri-County meeting last week, as the world shrinks, our world here shrinks too, and we can no longer afford to work in silos. There was general enthusiasm at the Tri-County meeting for expanding this concept to all of the counties that surround us. And I think that in the future, getting those agreements in place will be a great benefit to our citizens, because what they do right over the county line affects us just as much as if it were in the county. The same is true of what we do, and that was brought into focus by some of the development issues that we've dealt with in the last couple of months on our southern county line. So I think that this is a first step to a much better planning process.
So this partially answers the concern when we have those development questions down there. Does Volusia County know a bit about this, or what are their thoughts about this project or whatever? They would formally be notified of it and have participation if they want to in our development issues, correct?
Correct. And,
Yeah.
and no right of refusal on either side, but definitely a right and an ability to comment. And very much the same way that we have comments received internally through our technical review committee. Effectively, they're bringing their chair forward as part of that TRC.
Got it. Okay. Anything else, commissioners?
Just, you mentioned to me that the 3 miles was Volusia's request, right?
That's what I'm recalling, and I think it was based on an agreement that they had previously with Daytona is why I'm maybe incorrectly remembering it, but that's what I'm recalling, and we had no opposition to that 3-mile boundary.
Yeah, I just reiterate the importance of our coordination and cooperation with the development issues with our surrounding entities. It was evident in the gardens as well. There was a lot of mentions about Volusia's comments on traffic that led to the loop and other things. So I think it's important that it becomes in that step. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Seeing no other comments, I'll open this item up for public comment. Okay, seeing no one approach the podium, I'll close public comment and bring it back for a motion. Commissioner?
I don't think there's a
I
motion.
don't think we need a motion.
Oh, I apologize, yeah. Yeah, we don't. It's just discussion for today.
Thank you.
Yep, all right, thank you, Adam. All right, next we have public hearings, and again, I'll read our disclosure here. This is this one's not quasi-judicial, this one is legislative, so I guess I don't have to read that disclosure. So this is item 9A, and it's an amendment to ordinance 2020-02, adopting a local building code amendment for the 150-mile-per-hour wind speed map for risk category 4 buildings. And Mr. Mengel?
Sure. I think Jared's working on the overhead there. And so we've got just a few slides here that I'm pulling out for your reference. Back in July 2020, we adopted this ordinance, and risk category 4 buildings only pertain to these that you see on the screen in front of you. That those are basically our government buildings, our essential services buildings, surgery, emergency treatment facilities, hospitals also along with that, fire rescue, ambulance, police stations, emergency vehicle garages, earthquake, hurricane, other emergency shelters, power generating stations, emergency preparedness communications operations center, those facilities that would be hardened more substantially. And so that when you have in the building code, you have this gradation between your risk category buildings. These are considered to be in in all the situations that you see here in the listings here, these are the ones we want to have most hardened. And this is specific to wind. But the specifications that we had there, if you recall, we had talked before about having that boundary being potentially the west side of the county, that west boundary line, that would have required everything then constructed within Flagler County to be at that 150 mile per hour wind design. We had the option that we potentially shift it to US 1, the one we eventually adopted. A little strange because it's good. It's following a feature, in this case a man-made feature, US 1, and so it zigs, as you can see it. So it goes down from St. Johns County or goes up from Volusia, and you can see how the line progresses, and then we then follow this little bit of a circuitous route along US 1. Or the option that was recommended by GeoPlan, or at least that had come out of their study, and this is the one that's defensible by the data. This is the line that was part of the wind speed study that was statewide. And so then construction east of that line would be 150 mile per hour or greater wind design. Construction occurring west of that line would be 140 mile per hour or less. Does allow for extrapolation. You can get out your scale and scale those lines, and so you could actually 148, 146, 145, 140. You can imagine as you head further west. But this line creates that hard boundary. So again, we adopted this. This was a recommendation from GeoPlan. Hindsight's always 20/20. We thought that others were going to be doing just what we were doing. We did have the ability to do this. We had the ability to use natural features, roads. We had the roads before. And so this is what St. John's adopted, was what the model specified, what they recommended through GeoPlan. And so that was us again. This is St. John's, and this is what Volusia had. Volusia followed the model also. And so while the map that you see in that bottom corner, that bottom right, doesn't show our zigzag, we were the anomaly. We're the zigzag. And so this is what we adopted, this is what was recommended, and then these are our neighbors. So we came back with this, saying, let's go back to what they had recommended. A little hard for us to codify, or at least to describe in any way other than just saying it's this line on this map, and that's exactly what we're intending to do with the ordinance. This doesn't correspond to any kind of legal description that matches any natural feature, any man-made feature. We're not following along US 1. This does then coincide with the science, and so the good part about it is this is where GeoPlan's analysis says this line should be, as opposed to the line we adopted. It's also defensible in some other ways because the other categories that we have of risk, 1, 2, 3, that are there that correspond to other buildings, we're then maintaining some separation between this adopted line for risk category 4, where before on 150, we weren't crossing into it, but we were very close at the north end. If you can imagine those other category buildings, that same line, we didn't necessarily follow the science. With that, I'll close and again present to you that this ordinance only changes the line that we had adopted for US 1 to the line that was recommended by GeoPlan to then correspond to our neighboring counties, St. John's and Volusia, as was previously recommended. With that, I'll wait any questions or comments from the board.
We have Commissioner Hanson first and Sullivan second.
Why? I don't. I mean, I can see where we just say, okay, let's just make it that. But when we did it on Route 1, at least you knew where you stood. You knew what, and I don't understand the impact or the ramifications of being right, left, or on that line. Does that affect insurance rates? Does that affect building code? Does it affect, and what are we doing by moving this over? What problems are we causing, or what problems are we solving by doing this?
And this table, I think, tells us, it's not going to be insurance rates unless it's our own. But this is really only affecting us and hospitals yet to come and buildings yet that we have to design. It is an increased cost factor. And so, we had described that accurately last time we brought it to the board, saying we're going to require ourselves to design more. And so maybe the fallacy, the error with that is that it is more costly. And so then, and we thought at the time, we were talking very much about the future hospital yet to come in that area around the Matanzas Woods interchange, either with 95 or with US 1. And that increased cost then, we were quick to dismiss that and say that would just apply to whoever that is developing one of these risk category 4 buildings. This would be the wind requirement. This applies to us more than any other entity that I can name. Likewise, it would apply then, should apply to our cities. Our cities should also then abide by this. They're not necessarily obligated to, but typically they do. So that this is one of those things where if the model, the science says this is where the line should be, this is at least supported by the analysis. And that's probably the biggest defense I can tell you, is that it's just this jog in the line is hard for us to defend. There isn't any particular reason I can tell you other than it doesn't coincide with the line to the north or to the south. This was an option for us, no doubt about it. What we adopted was not incorrect. It's just not as easily defensible as what GeoPlan had come up with. And this isn't prompted by anyone, again, not our neighbors to the north or south, no one coming back and saying, well, why did you do this? Because we had the ability to do this. We could still adopt the west side line. That's our prerogative. But if we do so, and make sure I say it right on the record, we can be more restrictive. We can't be less. We can't move that line to the Atlantic coastline and say that's a 150-mile-per-hour line, because that's not what the science provides. But we can certainly move it and make a greater requirement for these risk category 4 buildings within our own boundary lines.
So there's no use or no reason to follow the easternmost county line, just include the whole county. So you're saying that's not a good thing, we shouldn't do that.
To do so would impose a restriction on us, a greater cost burden for us, because certainly there's a cost that's with this, and the cost increase would be borne principally by us, because these are our buildings. These are our buildings that would have to be hardened to withstand the greater wind speed, and there wouldn't be the science that would support that decision.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Kind of along the same line, just leave this one up, because that's what you're asking us to adopt today. Anything to the west of that line now would come under the 140-mile restriction.
Correct.
Okay. Anything to the east that's a government building, if it's not up to the 150-mile-an-hour requirement, would those buildings have to be upgraded?
They would not immediately have to be upgraded, because the building code there's a separate section on existing buildings. And so the language that it reads as, and I'm sure someone's cringing somewhere that's listening to me try to describe the thing that's kind of outside of my normal wheelhouse, but it's a substantial improvement. If you are at that 50% or greater threshold of basically the valuation, if you have something that's totally destroyed, and take the example then of the Flagler Beach Fire Station. If it's totally destroyed, you're going to be building it to the new code anyway. Any new construction corresponds to that. But if you have something substantial damage, you require substantial improvement, it would not have to automatically meet that new, more stringent building code requirement. It's based on a 50% threshold, typically tied to the valuation. You'd probably look at it and say, well, if it's one of those fire stations or police station, I want to do the best I can, and I'm going to try my best to harden it anyway. But there would be no obligation. Only obligation that's there is in that situation where you have that threshold of 50% then requires you to meet the full requirement of the Florida Building Code.
Okay, this is extensive, but Captain's Barbecue is currently a government building?
They go back to my, so the good thing there is that it is, but it's not a Category 4 building. So on this list, luckily, I don't have restaurant concession listed here.
Even though it's a government building? Oh, government owned. Okay. And the cities, as you said, the cities in that 150-mile-per-hour area, it's up to them whether they conform to this or not?
It is, and I think the unwritten rule, very much like the CEMP and the LMS that you just heard about, more often, cities are just going to say, we're going to follow what the counties have done, and irregardless of charter or non-charter. You'll see that in most instances here. And again, this being supported by the science. I would have told you before, and maybe the hindsight again kicking in, following that US 1 alignment, we were unfairly burdening Bunnell. That wasn't part of the discussion, but by having that line run along US 1, we're then maybe forcing decisions that would be made on one side of the boundary or the other for them. And there is certainly an increased cost with these two scenarios.
Mr. Cameron?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to add that following the science is important when you're defending something. These lines were pretty carefully calculated based on historical facts and people that make a career out of this. For us to do an arbitrary line, which is what the jog amounts to, unnecessarily increases construction cost. And a great example of this is just one, is a lot of people that manufacture the glass for these buildings will manufacture glass that's good up to 149 miles per hour. If the code says 150, for that 1 mile an hour, they pay tens of thousands of dollars in additional construction cost that's not really scientifically supportable.
Any other questions, Commissioners? All right, if not, I'll open this one up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on item 9A? All right, seeing no one come forward, I'll close public comment. And this one does require a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the amendment to ordinance 2020-02 and adopt the local building code amendment for the 150-mile-an-hour wind speed map for risk category 4 buildings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you,
very
Mr. Mangle.
Thank you, Adam.
We'll move on to agenda item 10. Mr. Cameron?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Adid?
Oh, give me two. I guess you gave me two.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I'm hurriedly sending that out. It was something that I received last night about midnight. And I had emailed it to you this morning, but our Outlook was down, so you may not have even seen that come across your email. Basically, what this is, this relates to two of the cases pending with the Attorney General right now involving the liability of Ms. Weeks concerning attorney's fees and costs. I had received a call Saturday. Actually, I returned a call Saturday afternoon and discussed the outlines of this. I didn't know if it was actually going to come to fruition. And I received it about somewhere around midnight last night. So what I thought the best thing I could do, rather than attempt to summarize Ms. Weeks's words, I would just, especially since nobody's really had an opportunity to review it, I'll just go ahead and read it, and I'll make a fast read of it. It is addressed to the Attorney General as well as the board and our officers, and it also is addressed to Mr. Erickson, former county commissioner. So, addressing to all of them, it is with a heavy heart and much consideration that I ask that you all accept my settlement offer to conclude this stressful litigation stemming from the Florida Commission on Ethics complaints I filed as supervisor of elections, and agree to enter into a voluntary dismissal with prejudice and settle in perpetuity all pending and past court orders against me personally and as a former elected official in exchange for $20,000 settlement to cover court costs and fees. As you probably know, I've had extensive legal bills and expenses the past several years, including over $20,000 stemming from the filed Florida ethics complaints I filed as supervisor of elections. I do not have any savings to submit a check with this settlement request, but if you accept my plea, my husband and I will borrow the $20,000 and will do so as quickly as possible. I do need to ask if you accept this plea that you kindly allow 7 to 10 days for monies to be borrowed and payment submitted. If I can get the money sooner than 10 days, I will certainly get the monies to you as quickly as possible. I will need instruction in advance as to whom it is required payment be made to dissolve those cases involving County Attorney Albert Hadid and former County Commissioner Charles Erickson Jr. In filing the complaints, I meant no harm or malice towards Mr. Hadid or Mr. Erickson when filing the complaints. I simply was trying to do an honorable job as a public elected official, and I am sorry for any stress and emotional effects you have endured from these filings. It certainly has been an emotional torment to me going through this ordeal, which has also been financially devastating. I just want this to end, not just for me, but for all others who have been unfortunately involved, including County Attorney Hadid and former Commissioner Erickson. I am sorry that so many people were inconvenienced and so much time has been expended and for so long. I therefore humbly request that the Attorney General and the court will be gracious and extend the current hearing date set for the 2 pending motions for summary judgment scheduled for Thursday, April 8th, that would be this Thursday, April 8th, 2021, at the Leon County Courthouse for cases, and then she recites the case numbers with the complaints involving myself and Mr. Erickson, to no earlier than April 15, 2021, at which time I anticipate I will have the $20,000 settlement delivered to whoever I am directed to in hopes that the Attorney General and all parties agree. It is asked if you accept my plea that you make contact with the Leon County, Florida Court and the Attorney General's office to extend the scheduled hearing for April 8th, 2021 to a date no earlier than April 15, 2021 to allow the requested time to raise the money and submit payment to settle these cases as described above. My husband and I are very concerned that summary judgments can destroy one's credit and ability to borrow in cases of emergency as we grow older and are approaching retirement age, and we do have 5 grown children and grandchildren to consider as well. If I could turn back time, I certainly would. This is the very best I can offer and will make this all go away forever for everyone involved. I thank you for every consideration and anxiously await to hear if the Attorney General will grant me these 10 extra days in the hopes of being able to enter a voluntary dismissal with prejudice in lieu of 2 hearings on the pending motions for summary judgment. I thank you for your time and consideration in this matter and anxiously await to hear a positive yes, Kimberly. We agree to grant your request for settlement upon receipt of $20,000 and agree to your request for a 10-day extension for the scheduled hearings of April 8th, 2021, on the Attorney General's motions for summary judgment in the Leon County Circuit Court. I did what I believe was the right thing to do and right course of action when I was supervisor of elections, but I never expected such an ensuing costly nightmare for all involved to go through, and I am sorry we have all had to experience this. I look forward to putting this behind us and moving forward, having better tomorrows. Most sincerely and respectfully, Kimberly B. Weeks. So I've read the offer in its entirety. I thought before you begin your discussion, I would just very quickly outline some additional facts for you to just have at the ready in your mind. Some of this we reviewed in the past, but we've been doing it every time something comes up in the cases, so it's been more ad hoc. So this is more of a roll-up of all of those. I did inform you that with respect to Mr. McDonald's case, his case had already moved to this final judgment that has been entered. Ms. Weeks has not yet reached her final judgment. She's trying to settle it before the final judgment is entered. And with Mr. McDonald, the fact that that case was litigated so much resulted in a judgment finally being entered at the behest of the Attorney General by the Circuit Court in Leon County in the amount of $79,600. I'm rounding, $79,600 to bear interest at the rate of 6.83% per year until paid. With respect to Mr. Richter, he had two cases, one involving former Commissioner McLaughlin and one involving the late former Commissioner Frank Meeker. And those judgments were just entered very recently by the Leon County Circuit Court. And I'm just going to give you their aggregate amount. They're on the higher end as well in terms of cost, $147,600 rounded, with bearing interest until such time as being paid. So those three cases that I've just summarized and their amounts have all come to a conclusion. The judgments have been entered, and now with Mr. McDonald, he's in a post-judgment phase, as I think I described to you, where now he is under the possible contempt powers of the court. Mr. Richter's judgments were entered on March 24th, so he has a certain number of days to come into compliance before, any other proceedings that might be initiated by the Attorney General. So with respect to Ms. Kim Weeks's pending two cases, not gone to judgment, set for hearing this Thursday, the Attorney General's motions combined has asked the court to order $129,600, and again, I'm rounding, plus pre- and post-judgment interest. So obviously that number, when it's computed on the date of judgment, if the court were to enter it Thursday, that number, those numbers I just gave you, would be higher by the amount of interest that has accumulated. So in any event, there you see what Ms. Weeks is offering simply is, look, I want to end it. I'm willing to pay $20,000 cash. I don't want to have to do the hearings. I don't want to have to do the summary judgments. I'll borrow the money and tender the money to relieve myself of those obligations. I have a couple more points not mentioned in the letter that I'm also going to add to your thought process. First off, most importantly, it is your decision. It's not a decision I make. It's not a decision, by the way, that Mr. Erickson makes. I have furnished him a copy. He's here today, and I had the opportunity to give him one. This is These cases are intended to recover in the name of the county the amount of funds and effort that it expended based upon a state statutory provision for the assessment of fees and costs, for having filed ethics complaints that were dismissed on the merits. In other words, there was a ruling against the veracity of the allegations, and that were determined by the court, by the Ethics Commission, and the reviewing administrative law judge, that were filed without reasonable basis, and that were filed for the purpose of maliciously maligning the individuals named. Now, I've touched on this a couple of times way in the distant past about why are these cases remaining pending? Why is there a pursuit of these sums? Because after these individuals, among others, these are not the only ones, we had over 24 of these complaints. So here we're talking about five of the over 24, which we got them all dismissed, including these 5 before the Ethics Commission. The individuals that filed the complaints I've just referenced did not withdraw them prior to the time that we had to have a very extensive trial in Tallahassee, where none of them came and participated, that we were forced to defend ourselves regardless of the fact that they didn't attend. We had to prove that the allegations were not verified and that they were false, and prove that they were maliciously brought. All of that was a part of what we had to do in Tallahassee, and obviously it involved an extensive amount of time over the totality of the over 24 cases that have been filed against us. We have spent money out of pocket. Insurance covered some, but not all of that amount of money. So that's sort of the larger stage. Now, one more thing, and then I'll leave it to you to begin to discuss. Again, in the interest of you having a fuller record. Unlike Mr. McDonald and unlike Mr. Richter, Ms. Weeks was subject to criminal prosecution by our state attorney. She was found guilty on a number of felony counts. I'm sorry, I don't remember how many. I can't remember. There were a number of them filed, I think maybe 13 or so, and then a number were dismissed. The result of that felony adjudication by a trial by jury and affirmed by the appellate court, she took an appeal to the 5th District Court of Appeal. Those felony convictions were affirmed, and the trial judge did sentence her to a term of imprisonment of, I'm recalling, about 60 days, and half of that she was able to obtain a good time served, so she served about half her sentence. Other consequences that flowed from those felony convictions was, being a convicted felon, she could no longer run for office, and she had to forfeit her accumulated state retirement, her Florida retirement system. Some of you may or may not know that Ms. Weeks was employed by the county for a far longer time than the time she served as a supervisor of elections. Her initial employment was with the sheriff's office here, working in the sheriff's office, and then she worked for the clerk of the court, and then later ran for supervisor of elections and was elected for 2 terms, I think served 6 total years. I'm not sure about that number. This is all from recollection. So in other words, she has had significant consequences for the conduct that she engaged in while she was the elected supervisor of elections. So with that, and I'm sorry that was a lot, but I want to make sure that it's a full record. I don't want somebody to come and say that I did not tell you something that was material, and really, it is up for your discussion. If you wish to ask me any questions, please do. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's a lot to remember. I did speak with Mr. Cameron. We didn't have much time to talk about it because it came so late last night. And we talked about it very early this morning, that if the board were inclined to do this, and we're not recommending it, this is truly in your discretion. But we would say that if the board is inclined, that we should only do so on the basis that a release is executed by Ms. Weeks that waives any and all past, present, future possible claims. So in other words, it truly does end this chapter, if you will, and that it include an anti-disparagement clause, again, bringing to finality this chapter, and so that we wouldn't have to revisit in any form or fashion in the future anything related to this. So with that, my
I know you-
apologies for the depth, but I think you understand.
I think Mr. Mullins went first, and then
I don't know a lot of the history about this, but I do know I've encountered this individual, and from what I'm hearing, you were saying that they didn't take this very serious until now. They didn't show up for court. They haven't responded to stuff. So a lot of these fees and things they've incurred have cost the county, cost the taxpayers, and ultimately cost them. Is that correct in assumption that they didn't?
I would, with one minor correction, Ms. Weeks did submit extensive documentation, to the Ethics Commission and to the Division of Administrative Hearings and to this circuit court in Tallahassee. She has participated by composing documents, attaching exhibits, et cetera.
So the fee would be 100 and some odd thousand, and we're getting an offer of 20?
That's correct. The judgments will exceed, in both of them together, will exceed 130,000.
Wow.
I don't know how much more the interest adds.
I tend to agree with our citizen, Ms. Pauletta, and some of the things, when people create a fine, this is my personal feelings with it. When people create a fine or create an activity, and this isn't even speculated, this has gone through trial, been tried, they need to pay. If not, it's going to shoulder on the citizens of Flagler County all this cost and expense that we've incurred to this point. I personally don't have anything to say because I don't know this individual, and I'm going to refrain from saying anything that I've experienced on social media with her. But she hasn't been so kind to this community, and I think that's low.
Commissioner Hanson?
Al, what does 20,000 do? How much of a percentage of what we spent does that cover?
With respect to the amounts that the court is very likely to order, it's about 15%.
Of what it cost us?
130,000.
Well, but
Oh.
I'm referring to what did it cost us? And does this 20,000 make us whole on what we spent?
You mentioned insurance, that was my question.
No, it would not make us whole. I'm not able to do that. I'm not able to do that calculation because under the just so you understand, under the statutory fees, the court is required to base it not on what was expended by an insurance company or the county, because it's a penal provision. It requires the court to determine the hourly rate of fee of the attorneys involved in the case at their level of expertise. and I'm recalling from memory now, I believe the court set the value of my fee at $275 or $250 an hour. That is not what you pay me. Okay, and Mr. Herron, I believe the fee was set for like $300, because as you know, he's an expert in ethics and elections cases.
Is this if this gets approved, are we setting a precedent for the other two individuals?
I do not believe so, because this is prejudgment. But I would tell you, if either one of them came forward, I would point out that theirs are coming post-judgment and required the Attorney General to go and run the full gamut, and still running the gamut on the accountability issue.
Now, I have a problem with this, because regardless of what she says here, those three individuals were very vindictive. They were very hurtful to this community. And they did it on purpose, and they did it with malice and forethought. And they hurt our county significantly. Now, regardless of what we say here, we're not the final adjudication of this settlement. It looks like the Attorney General has to say yay or nay, correct?
Yes, but I'm of the opinion, I have, by the way, did I mention that? I can't remember with my presentation. I did send it last night, midnight, to the chief prosecuting lawyer in the Attorney General's office, and I did attempt to reach her. I went out to try to make a phone call, but have not been able to talk to them. I believe that they would defer, or definitely seriously consider whatever your disposition is today. I believe they would respect that. I can't be sure of that, but I believe that they would seriously consider whatever decision you came to.
Anything else, Commissioner? I was going to keep moving here. Commissioner? Okay. We'll go to Mr. Cameron and then Commissioner Sullivan.
Just with reference to our conversation earlier with Attorney Hadid, the non-disparagement and the bar to future litigation, I believe, is implied in her letter saying that she wants finality to this. And the only thing that I have not heard you discuss so far is whether or not this judgment in full would be collectible due to the financial condition that she has expressed. Just that for further consideration.
Sullivan?
Yeah, I have been involved with this from the beginning, even before I was elected 5 years ago, back because I was involved with politics and actually in the elections that were concerned with this. It's not so much the money here that I see this as a problem. We're kind of giving her get out of jail, figuratively, and court with this. And she had numerous times over the last 5 years to have backed out of this and gotten a much easier way out. She fought this all along with lawyers in every possible way she could. Just because she says they don't have any money, have we checked that? I mean, do we know for sure? Her family has no money. Her husband's in the agricultural business. He's been involved in that a long time. So this point that there's no money and all that kind of thing, I'm not so sure of where they are in their family. So it would be very hard for me to do anything. I don't see her admitting guilt here either in what she said. I've only heard Al say it, and I tried to read through it. It basically says, I'm sorry, this happened, basically is what she's saying, and I'd like it to end now. And I understand her position now, but she's had years to have taken this stand if she had felt sorry about what happened. So right now, I know it's hard, but I don't see any way based on the history I have with this, which is pretty close history, since this started, I don't see any way I can go along with this.
For my part, I'm conflicted. I'm struck by this letter and some of the things in there, and I agree with you, Commissioner, and I agree with you, Commissioner Hanson. There was absolutely no absence of malice here. There was malice and forethought, 100%. And to say that I felt I did the right thing at the time, so the right thing was illegally recording Mr. Erickson and other people and then playing them on a radio station. There was intent there all along the process. And so this letter is really an insult to my intelligence, to Mr. Erickson's intelligence, and a lot of other people's. And it's an attempt just not to suffer the consequences of what has been a long-term behavior, not just something that happened one time. And it in no way, in my opinion, can compensate the county for the time of the legal staff, other folks that work for the county, all the public records requests, all of that. It's got to come up to thousands and thousands of dollars, regardless of insurance. There's a time element too. Having said that, you know, I fall back also on my Christian teaching of mercy, and I'm totally conflicted about what to do on this, and you know, aggravated about it, and don't know what else to say, and feel really time constrained that this is dumped on us at the last minute like this, and I would almost be of the mindset to sleep on it for a while. Let me ask you this, Mr. Hadid, from an advice standpoint. If the ruling was done, the settlement was done, is that what the term is, settlement from?
You mean what the court is proposing to
Yeah.
do, or what Ms. Weeks is proposing?
The
court's action this Thursday will be to actually consider entering the final judgments.
Final judgment, okay. So can we still negotiate something or do something post-judgment?
Yes, you can.
But then we're back into the situation of being, possibly setting a precedent with the other two
That's correct.
folks, the other two people.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
That's kind of, I'm glad that our chairman brought that up. It seems to me this could always be done, even after judgments. You could bring it back. I really don't think it's a good idea to make a settlement on this, even though you say there's no way we know it should impact the other cases. But I'm really worried that if we go along with this now, it will impact the other cases. And I'd kind of like to see it go through the judgments for all three. We'll know then the final result. At that point, if any of the people involved want to make some kind of case, they can do that. I mean, if that's not true, then tell me now. But if that's true, then I really think that, you know, be hard to accept this now before they go through the judgments.
To answer your question, yes, any of those parties post-judgment can come and present a proposal to try to satisfy their obligations to ask the commission for some reduction in the total amount.
I know you want to talk.
You're fine, go ahead.
Just one other thing. Once that judgment is done and then we're post-judgment on all three of these, with all three of these individuals, at that point, it doesn't need approval of the Attorney General, correct? We could, since we're a party to this judgment, or no, that's not the case?
Since they were involved, I would feel it obligatory on our part to bring the Attorney General into that conclusion, because they have invested an incredible amount of time and effort on this.
Okay. Mr. Dance, I know you.
Just a few comments. I'm late to this as well and conflicted, as you mentioned as well. I mean, I've been keeping tabs from a distance, but not nearly from the sitting commissioner standpoint on everything that's been going on. If, Attorney Hadid, if past the judgment, post-judgment, can individuals be waived of some of this by filing for personal bankruptcy? Or how are those debts handled?
Well, this is a penal judgment. I don't know if it would be discharged in bankruptcy. I don't know bankruptcy law well enough to be able to answer that question.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, I'm sorry, just so that I'm not using obscure language, this is not like a damage judgment from a breach of contract case. It's a judgment that's rendered, as a result of the Attorney General enforcing a penal statute for false and malicious use of the Ethics Commission process.
I think even if this goes past post-judgment, if we started some type of proceeding or negotiation, even if it went past post-judgment, I'm thinking since it started now, would necessarily doesn't have to carry over to the other two cases. A part of me would like to see this put to rest and put behind us, but this is their first offer, so I'm of the opinion that that we take it back to them due to the significant amount of difference between the numbers you've put together. And again, I don't see a spreadsheet summary of our of what we've spent and what the taxpayers are out. But I would think that there's a secondary offer in there somewhere and would ask them to come back.
I would think at this point, if I'm misreading the situation, at this point, the consensus is we don't want to agree to this as of today.
I think there's
Do you want
time
consen-
for
Do you
them
want us
still
to
to.
make a motion on that, or do you want, is consensus enough here?
Just an aside, Mr. Chairman.
For the record, I think it would, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Go ahead.
Mr. Hanson was talking.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'd feel a little softer about it if she apologized, but she didn't.
Mr. Cameron and I were speaking on the side here. We think it would be appropriate to have a vote for the record, just so that it is in the record.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we deny this request.
Second.
Okay, all right.
Open, I guess the only thing is we would be still open to a further offer.
I think that's valid discussion.
Okay.
Given.
It's a given?
I think it's a given.
Yeah.
Always a given, but the time constraint with the judgment.
Right.
Coming up. I don't think there's time for us to re-meet on this prior to that case.
Well, we can publicly notice quick meetings in short time if need be.
I don't want to do anything special for her right now.
Right. All right, so we have had a motion and a second. I'm going to open this up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? We've added to the agenda. All right, seeing none, I'll close public discussion. All those in favor of the motion to reject this offer, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
And I know I've taken a lot of time on that item, so this is just my last, well, actually, two little short things. One, Mr. Cameron was able to meet with another purchaser on the Dixie Motel and lay out the situation, and there's some very promising discussions there. We don't know how they're going to mature, but just so you know, we're continuing to work on it. And number two, on the dunes, I had the opportunity to discuss with Mr. Sullivan early this morning that the amount that you just approved, the $8.7 million for what we call our shorthand reference, the non-federal portion of the project, which is from South 28th Street all the way down to the Volusia line, and then from South 6th Street up to about 19th, North 19th Street on the beach. That the department has very graciously allowed us in that agreement to use our procurement rules to proceed with that project, that $8.7 million that I just described, which, by the way, also includes the, what was it, $3.8 million that we're getting from DEP. So you really have to put both of those amounts together to get that cost of what we call the non-federal. That we'll be able to use our procurement procedures so we can piggyback off the Army Corps project and not have to do a separate procurement, which would be extensive, very time-consuming, and obviously the federal government is very used to these procurements, and so we can rely on the quality of their procurement in guiding our own so that we have one contractor that's doing what? This roughly 5 miles continuously on this beach. So I wanted to let you know that, and that coordination effort is the product of the county engineer, Faith Al-Khatib, and her staff persuading FDOT to take that route, and the value of being able to do that to achieve economies of scale in the project, and therefore a lower cost and much more efficient project for the public. So that, unless there are any questions, thank you.
One thing, Mr. Hadid, just going back to that issue with the hotel.
Yes.
I just want to emphasize that we still need to pursue, with vigor, the issues against the current owners, because that is not just that's a public safety issue, it's a health issue, and it's a serious situation there. So I just wouldn't want us to get delayed just because there's conversations about maybe a sale or a purchase.
Right, we're not, and I had mentioned it last time, and I didn't mention, I was trying to be really quick, and it was just something I forgot. My fault. We are not altering any of the timeframes for our proceeding to get a final judgment, to get in front of the court. The owners are now being served with the lawsuit so we can schedule a hearing.
Thank you. Okay, so we've had both of our reports there. We're going back to item 10C now, which is community outreach. This is the last 30-minute time period allocated for public comment for items not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. And please approach the podium, identify yourselves, and direct comments to the chair. Okay, seeing no one come forward, I'll close community outreach. Bring it back here for a section of commission reports, comments, actions. We'll start, Commissioner Sullivan.
Yeah, just to be real quick, two good things. For all those just need the information, federal income tax date for submission is now May 17th, not April 15th, if you haven't caught that in the news. And I wanted to congratulate, I think it's Mr. Hanson and Mr. Mullins have pushed this. I think they finally got the double yellow line and reflectors cleaned up as you go north from Flagler Beach up towards the hammock. I don't know if anybody's been out there recently, but it's a double line all the way, and they have the reflectors there in place. So that was a good job with the follow-up with FDOT, I guess, on that. That's it.
Commissioner Mullins.
I've got a couple of things I want to update you guys about the Tri-County meeting, just real quick. I had the honor of representing the county up there and went with County Manager Mr. Cameron, Attorney Al Hadid, Jorge, our Deputy Administrator, and Julie Murphy. And those guys did a phenomenal job. You guys did a great job representing our community and talking about the needs of this county as well. But we covered things like economic development, unified economic development together, and infrastructure, workforce housing, mental health and substance abuse, veteran suicide, broadband, efforts to assist the homeless population, joint planning agreements, farming, coastal erosion, roadways between the counties, and future business. It went really well. A lot of positive ideas came out of there, and I'm sure the county administrator can go more into detail with it. But it seemed like most of the great ideas came from our county staff. So y'all did a great job representing and showing the need. St. John's and Putnam are very excited to be doing this and want to do it again. And it just the collaboration of how we can address some of these problems regionally instead of individually really came to light at that meeting. So it was a very productive meeting and well worth attending in the future. I know we didn't all get a chance to do it, but I would recommend it. Another thing is I wanted to go over, this is an email I received from Charter Communication, and this just kind of reiterates the importance of having strong and good media outlets covering our county and saying the positive things. This was from a senior vice president of the southern region of Charter. Dear Commissioner Mullins, your advocacy of the connectivity challenges in Flagler County has gotten a great deal of attention from Charter Communications' senior leadership team. I am Group Vice President for the South Region with Charter Communications, and I would love to connect with you by phone and talk about some of the challenges your area faces and the opportunities for Charter to partner with you in helping to solve some of these challenges. And that meeting was set up with our chief of staff, and we're going to be proceeding. But that just talks about how the positive news that's coming out of this community can get the attention of private sector, and they partner with us to solve some of these problems. I'm very optimistic after hearing the conversation with them and after hearing our deputy administrator's knowledge of this, that this problem is going to be resolved very soon. And it's exciting, and I know you guys will get an update soon from the task force, but that's some positive news. The final thing I'd like to do is, I had been talking to the community, many in the community, about the Constitution and Second Amendment, and really struggling on how that we as a county could do that and move forward. And Commissioner Hanson, you came up with a brilliant idea when that individual came in about, let's cover them all. And with your encouragement and the help with staff, there's a resolution, and I'd like to read it real quick and put it on record, just showing the strength of this county supporting our United States Constitution. And with it under attack today, I think it's very important that we stand as a community showing how much we support it. But this is a resolution of support for the United States of America's Constitution, whereas the United States of America laid the foundations of its government on a written constitution, and whereas the Constitution provided a structure of government designed to prevent the rise of tyranny through a carefully designated system of separation of powers, preventing any one branch of that government from obtaining a dangerous advantage over the states and the people. And whereas the Constitution embodies a Bill of Rights protecting citizens' most cherished liberties to include freedom of religion, the right to bear arms, the right to be secure in their property and possessions, the right against self-incrimination, the right to due process and fair trials before a jury of their peers, and the essential rights and protections necessary to a free people. And whereas the Constitution reserves all powers not specifically granted to the federal government, to the states and the people. And whereas since the founding of this country, much bold blood and treasure have been expended defending that Constitution and the freedoms it supports. And whereas the members of this board and the elected officials of Flagler County have taken a solemn oath to defend that Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Now, therefore, we do firmly resolve to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and to resist any intrusions on the sacred rights protected by the Constitution. And I'd like to bring this up I'd like to make a motion that we bring this up, or we put this at the next board meeting to do. But again, this couldn't have been possible without Commissioner Hansen's suggestion of making it and cover all the Constitution, not just one piece of it, because we'd be back here again defending the rest of it. But I'd like to put that motion out there.
Second.
So the motion is to include this in the next meeting's agenda as a official proclamation or resolution, yeah. All right.
Is there any reason we can't do that now?
Mr. Chairman, the form of the document is not complete. That's a draft, and, you know, you certainly could do it with instructions that the form be perfected by the county attorney's office, but just know that the document that you have in front of you is not complete as to form.
Yeah, I think this way we stick to process when we can, you know. so
Yeah, I think the
that's fine.
motion's correct. We
Yeah.
was bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay,
It'll be ready for the next meeting.
all right.
I
I'll open that up for public comment.
My name is Norman Roy. Again, I live on Woodhaven Drive in Palm Coast, and I'm a veteran out of the United States Submarine Service, and I totally support this declaration. I think it's about time all counties in Florida and the United States stand up for our founding fathers. I mentioned earlier that I was from Rhode Island, and I moved down here. Many of you do not really know this, but Rhode Island was the first of the 13 colonies to declare its independence from England, and the last of the 13 to join the Union. Of course, a lot has changed now in the way in Rhode Island government, but back then we were very, very pro-Constitution and Bill of Rights. And I support this county in doing this wonderful act. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roy. Anyone else from the public? All right, seeing no one come forward, I'll close public comment on the item. So the motion again is to, oh, I apologize.
Sorry, but my name is Doris Forster, and I'm in Flagler County. I live in Palm Coast. I also want to thank you. I want to thank Joseph Mullins for bringing this up, because I really feel that we need to stand up for our Constitution and for our constitutional rights, especially now. I think it's important for the future, and it would be wonderful if something like this was passed in our district and in our county. So I thank you all for, your support, and I hope that this comes up at the next meeting, because we'll be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no one else approach the podium, I'll close public comment. Bring it back for a motion. All those in favor of the motion to bring this resolution forward and add it to our next regularly scheduled meeting's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, that motion carries unanimously. Anything else on your public comments?
Just one last thing I'd like to say.
Pushing my luck here now, buddy. Just
One
kidding.
one thing real quick I'd like to say, you guys have done the parenting thing a long time ago compared to me, but this Sunday, one of the things you guys told me about, the special moments with your kids. My son, my 11-year-old son, accepted Jesus as his Savior this Sunday, Easter. And it was, I don't know that there's a moment that has been bigger than that. But just wanted to tell you guys that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, two things. Commendation to our staff. The Marine Land Acres project is really moving. It's moving right along. I mean, we have one little blip, but he's insignificant in the grand scheme of things. The staff is doing a remarkable job husbanding that and making sure everything happens. Secondly, we have a radio station show, the county does now. It's been on 3 weeks now, I think. And we couldn't have done it without a donation by one of our citizens. And that's Tag Realty, who paid the $10,000 to put us on the air. And Lacey is doing a great job, by the way, emceeing that. And Carlos and his group is keeping it going. It's pretty terrific radio show. So I just commend them on that. And thank you to Kathy Ostrino at Tag Realty to paying the money to put us on the air.
Great. Commissioner Dance?
Good comments. I have nothing. Look forward to the workshop.
Okay. The only thing I'll say is I just want to thank you, Commissioner Mullins. I took a big risk not going up to the Tri-County meeting and having you represent the chair, but I knew there were good governors with you, so, handlers, yeah. But I seriously, I appreciate you filling in for me on that. Appreciate that. I don't have anything else. Mr. Cameron, you had one other thing?
Yes. Director Bishop has the answer to Commissioner Sullivan's previous question.
Oh, right.
Joyce Bishop, Health and Human Services Director. I just wanted to answer you about our thoughts of opening up the Church on the Rock. We are looking towards, we have, the end of this month, most of our seniors that have previously participated will have had their second dose of the vaccination. And we're going to be looking toward, I'm going to be meeting with my managers this week to discuss, our actual plan to do this. So I'm looking towards May, June for us to get in there for sure.
Okay, good.
And just as a little bit of a side, we've checked with other providers in our PSA, and Volusia County did open up and reclosed right away because they had nobody coming in. They had like 10 people. They had opened up all of their centers, and they would only have like 10 people coming to each one. So they reclosed and was giving them home meals. So I think our thoughts of waiting till more vaccinations are done is probably a better idea.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Joyce.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you.